Before we jump into today's content, I would like to introduce myself and the Alliance Center. My name is Danny Orth. I work as the events director at the Alliance Center, and I will be your MC for today's session. I would also like to introduce you to and thank Kelby Johnson, our fabulous events coordinator with the Alliance Center, as she will be helping on the back end of Zoom and putting all the links in the chat box for you today. So make sure you keep that up. As we get started, a few housekeeping items. If everyone could stay on mute until the Q&A session, that would be awesome. It's also super helpful if you can keep your video on. I know as a presenter, I love presenting to faces instead of black screens. So if you can keep your video on, that would be awesome. The session will be recorded and we'll send it out after the event today. So who is the Alliance Center? A little background information on who we are as the Alliance Center. We're a nonprofit in Denver that exists to bring people together to solve systemic problems, especially around climate change. We convene and mobilize our network of nonprofit organizations, for-profit businesses, government agencies, academic institutions, and community members to collaboratively create sustainability-focused solutions. The Best for Colorado program is a program of the Alliance Center because we acknowledge that a sustainable future is not possible without leadership and innovation from the private sector. This is why the Best for Colorado program serves as the hub for corporate social responsibility for Colorado businesses. It also allows companies to measure and improve their social and environmental impact, regardless of where they're at on their corporate social responsibility journey. I also want to do a plug for our Commit to Action campaign. The Commit to Action campaign is a free resource of suggested actions to help you implement socially and environmentally responsible business practices. You can join the campaign by committing to one or all four of them because it's super easy, super fast, and super free. Kelby will put the link for the Commit to Action campaign in the chat so you can find more information about that. Today's event will flow like this. You're going to hear from me for just another minute, and then I will hand it off to our first speaker, Cole. We'll hear from our second speaker, Ryan, and then we'll do an open Q&A/discussion to close out the event. If you have any questions between now and the Q&A session, please feel free to put them in the chat box or message them to me directly, and we'll get those answered during that time. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our speakers for today. Our second speaker, the one who will be speaking second, is Ryan Lewis, founder and CEO of EarthHero. EarthHero started over 4 years ago with the mission to connect people and the planet through conscious commerce, making sustainable shopping easy and fun. In his own quest to live a more environmentally conscious lifestyle, he found it challenging to find the products that were both high quality and sustainably made. Ryan wanted to find a way to give people the tools to make educated and thoughtful decisions about why they buy and use what they do, while also being convenient and accessible. He is a firm believer that living sustainability should be simple and built EarthHero to help make that possible. And our first speaker today will be Cole Gibbs, founder of Dama Distributing, and is an innovative entrepreneur, is pioneering the development of sustainable hemp, plastic, and compliant packaging solutions for a variety of industries. With only 9% of plastic recycled worldwide and the plastic waste problem growing out of control in all industries, Cole established a practical and sustainable strategy for businesses and industry using the power of hemp and other green technologies. As he looks to the future, Cole believes his years of research in the area of sustainable hemp plastic packaging, combined with hundreds of relationships in business and industry, will prevent thousands of tons of petroleum plastic from damaging our planet. Cole, an active outdoor enthusiast, has spoken at numerous events, expos, and symposiums on sustainability, bioplastics, and waste management. And with that, Cole, please get us started.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Cole Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of Dama Distributing. And thank you, Danny and the Alliance Center, for having us on here today to talk about what we're doing and the changes we're making. So I'm going to dive right into it. Our mission is to eliminate single-use plastic packaging across the globe. We do this by offering sustainable and plant-based packaging so that we can leave things a little bit greener for everyone else going forward. I'll share my screen here. So obviously the problem is single-use plastic packaging. Every 60 seconds, about 700 tons of plastic is generated worldwide, and 91% is never recycled. Due to rules and regulations in the cannabis industry, it is even worse because we cannot remove or recycle this packaging unless it's been washed and sanitized, because cannabis is still a federally controlled substance. So the recycling facilities actually don't take back that kind of packaging unless you've actually washed and cleaned it out before you even send it to them. So the number of packaging that is going out in the industry, not just in cannabis and hemp, is actually mind-blowing. It is millions upon millions of pounds of pieces of packaging, sorry. If you look at Colorado, we're probably in the neighborhood of 30 to 50 million pieces of packaging. California sold over 53 million pieces of packaging just for dry flower. So for one product in one state, they sold over 53 million pieces of plastic packaging. So the problem is just compounding, and the hemp and cannabis industry are also part of the problem, unfortunately, due to the rules and regulations. So what we do to eliminate all of this problem going forward is provide truly sustainable alternatives. Eliminate petroleum plastic. All of our products are made from plants, so they can be home composted, no industrial facility required. The only other products we use are either glass or steel, which are infinitely recyclable and can be used over and over again, can be reused before they're even recycled as well too. And the beauty of using hemp plastic for packaging is, for one, hemp is a carbon negative plant, which allows us to carry that throughout the packaging and provide truly sustainable options, not just in hemp and cannabis, but in the food industry, in cosmetics and beauty, in the fashion industry, really any industry that needs packaging, because as we all know, every industry and even packaging needs packaging, unfortunately. So a lot of people will ask me, is making the switch beneficial? Is it economically viable? Is it more expensive to switch over to sustainable options? And what we found from our customers across the country, from other industry leaders like NYU's Stern Center for Sustainable Business, they found that you can actually increase your sales by marketing sustainable products, sustainable packaging. And they found between 2013 and 2018, a 29% increase in sales for companies that did this. And not only that, people are looking for these types of products, and they're willing to pay more for sustainable options. And this is why we're seeing all of these plastic bag bans and cutlery, straw bans from the city level to the state to entire countries that are now banning single-use plastics. So what do we provide? A couple different options. Like I talked about hemp plastics, we have a couple different sizes there. We have certified home compostable pre-roll tubes, tins. All of our bags are certified home compostable. If you've been seeing me drink out of my cup here, this straw is actually a bioplastic straw. It is not plastic. It is home compostable and ocean degradable. Actually, I'm doing some real world testing to see if it'll break down in my cup. It's been in here for 24 hours and there's no issues whatsoever with the straw itself. So we're always looking for more and more options to eliminate single-use plastic in any way that we can. From grocery bags to stand-up pouches to coffee bags, you name it. If you have a product, we probably have a truly sustainable plastic-free packaging solution for you. And we ship everything UPS carbon neutral here in the US as well too. A couple more pictures of the products we carry, and as you can see, they will actually solar degrade by themselves. If somebody were to unfortunately litter it on the side of the road, you don't have to worry about it lasting for 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. It'll actually break down by itself in a couple months. So a little bit more about what we do. Product design and innovation. We do consulting for sustainable cannabis, sustainable packaging, as well as providing that one-stop shop for really anybody in the industry or any industry looking for sustainable options. All of our labels are printed with water-based inks in a carbon neutral facility. We direct print on most of our products with water-based inks as well too, to not hinder that compostability aspect. So full customization options and really anything that we can do to help eliminate as much single-use plastic as possible. And we do this by connecting with other companies and other nonprofits like the Alliance Center and Good Business Colorado to help bring the information out there to the consumers and businesses and show that these options, for one, do exist, and for two, they're not more expensive than you would think. We're talking about pennies and not dollars in price difference. So the barrier to entry is very, very low for most people when it comes to sustainable packaging. We even work with hemp paper and hemp fabrics as well too, for custom retail packaging and return and takeaway for the cannabis industry. Because as most people use their reusable grocery bags, they can use our hemp walking bags for the cannabis and hemp industry if the state allows them to return to the dispensary and reuse that type of packaging. And with that, I will kick it off to Ryan over at EarthHero, and he can tell you a little bit more about his sustainable products.
Thanks, Cole. That was great. We share a very similar mission in a lot of ways in terms of reducing, coming to market with the intention of reducing plastic. So I'm going to share a little bit about EarthHero, which focuses more on the consumer side, on the CPG side. So just to dive in, we really consider ourselves a community of world-changing brands. And I'll get more into that in a little bit, but we're essentially operating as a B Corp certified business, carbon neutral with all of our shipments, both inbound, outbound operations, and we're also number 1% for the planet. So as we grow, we're donating, more and more to environmental nonprofits. So at EarthHero, we're essentially building the world's largest sustainable marketplace. We want to make sustainable shopping so easy that everybody does it. Some of the products on EarthHero today, and we've been in the market for almost 4 years, so we're relatively young. But some of the product categories include things like home and office supplies, travel supplies, personal care, bath and beauty, pet supplies, apparel, audio tech, lots of things for new parents and babies, sporting and hobby apparel and gear. So, this is just a little bit of what we're doing. We're also working with businesses to supply them with sustainable gifting. So corporate employee gifts, appreciation gifts, VIP customers, that kind of thing. So it's nice to see that huge sort of traditionally wasteful market move towards a more sustainable version of itself. To date, we have about 200 brands, individual brands on our site. So we're reselling brands that are making products the right way, and that is about 5,000 to 6,000 individual products. So why does EarthHero exist? Because the way that we make and consume products, traditional products today, is literally killing our planet. And I know a lot of you on this call know this, but there's just way too much plastic production, mass mining and agriculture stripping our planet of natural resources and putting out their pollution, chemicals, toxins into the air and water and leaving single plastic and products everywhere. Not a sustainable model, especially as we approach 8 billion people on this planet. We're here to change that. Consumers make up close to 2/3 of the total spend on the economy. So if we can get consumers consuming sustainably, we take literally 2/3 chunk out of the waste that's happening today. That movement's accelerating, and we're here to help. We're basically we're creating a one-stop shop for everybody that loves the planet. So as you live and consume in your personal lives, EarthHero is here to freely shop about our site without worrying about unnecessary waste and natural resources being degraded. A little bit about how we source, how we choose the brands and vendors on our site. This is what we consider makes us authentic, unique, and and kind of special. So we basically start with what the product is made of. We look at either the materials or the ingredients and make sure that our promise is to choose the most sustainable version of any particular product or product category. We look at the company itself. Are they operating in a zero waste facility, energy efficiency? Are they treating their laborers fairly, especially if overseas? And we look at all sorts of ways to get that information, both interviewing them, looking for individual content that they're providing to us, and making sure that they're signing off that it's true. We also look for certifications as well, third-party certifications. Cole talked about packaging. In our world, a lot of product comes with packaging. We do sell some plastic or package-free products, but everything needs to be zero waste, recyclable, compostable. And we also, in terms of our customer outbound shipments, use plastic-free shipping as well. And everything's, again, a zero waste experience. We look at the kind of mission of the company. Are they giving back? Do they have philanthropy built into their model? So as they grow, more good happens. And then finally, we don't look at any products unless they help you live a more sustainable lifestyle. As we move through that research, we carve out and identify what attributes are making these products and brands sustainable. We've designed these logos that map directly to the product pages themselves. So as people are shopping, they can shop in a way that aligns with their values, and also provides a little education in terms of what makes this product sustainable. Real quick here, this example, it's a bamboo utensil set. Bamboo is a very sustainable crop. It is in a case that's made from recycled water bottles. They're a B Corp, so they're operating sustainably. They also do have a charitable component to them, and this clearly helps reduce waste. So helping you live a more sustainable lifestyle. So a lot of people will ask, one of the most common questions I get is like, where do I go from here? I want to participate. So what's a good place to start? And my answer is always, it depends on where you're at. We view this journey, or I guess this transition to a more sustainable lifestyle as a journey. So, you start the process, and then you get better and better and more educated, and things become more natural. So we're here to help you take that next step, no matter where you are on that journey. If you're just getting started, a great place to think about it is, what do I consume and what do I buy that I use once and then discard? You can replace all those things with replenishables. So just to jump into a few examples, this is sort of some tangible swap this for that. And to start, what we do is we view, what do you do in your daily normal life that creates waste? And is there a solution to prevent that? And take dishwashing, for example. You can ditch the plastic-filled liquids and plastic sponges for compostable dish brushes with a soap block that sits on a bamboo, soap tray. This is all zero waste. It's actually less expensive, and it's a really great experience. Oral care is another one. No need for the plastic toothbrushes and toothpaste tubes. You can ditch that for toothpaste tablets that come in either compostable bags or glass jars, or a toothpaste tube that is curbside recyclable at the end, and a bamboo toothbrush, again, very compostable. Apparel is something that it's considered by some the second most wasteful and toxic industry outside of oil and gas. They're closely related. A lot of our clothing comes from petroleum-based resources. Fossil fuels yanked out of the ground and turned into polyester, nylon, spandex, and a whole bunch of other, plasticky types of clothing. Swap those for organic textiles. They have a better and more sustainable story in terms of the inputs to make those clothing, and they can, and their end of life is much less damaging as well. Things like organic cotton, hemp, the certain types of bamboo clothing can be good as well. For more performance-oriented clothing, we recommend fabrics made from recycled water bottles versus virgin plastic. And again, another daily routine, laundry. there's a theme here. You can ditch the liquid-filled plastic and wasteful dryer sheets and swap those for sustainable detergent pods. We also have detergent strips. You literally tear them apart and just pop them in your dishwasher, and they obviously compost. And then we have dryer balls to help your clothes dry faster. And these two products over here, the Cora ball helps prevent microplastics that leach from your plastic clothing into the water stream. Actually capture it, you just drop that in your washing machine. And excuse me, another option is the Guppy Friend, and that you actually put your plastic clothes in the bag and it does the same thing. It'll prevent the microplastics from entering the water stream and being consumed by fish. Finally, just another untraditional category that you might think about when it comes to sustainability, and that's just our everyday tech. So phone cases. For those of you who know Pillowcase, it's a great phone case. We also sell recycled plastic phone cases, cords, chargers, audio gear, headphones, all made from recycled content and done from the most thoughtful way possible in terms of sustainability. These are just a few examples. This is one approach to sort of do an audit on your personal life and think about, again, where you feel like that next step might help. So, one of the ways I challenge people to also think about this is every time you buy something, you swipe, tap, charge anything, ask yourself, like, how does this purchase impact the planet? And if you don't know, I would challenge you to get curious. There's not that many materials and ingredients that make a meaningful difference. So it doesn't have to be this crash course where you spend hours studying. I think curiosity will lead you there, and just start asking questions and maybe Googling or just certainly EarthHero has a lot of content that can help accelerate your journey as well. So thank you for your time. Look forward to answering any questions you might have, and I'll turn it back to you guys. Danny.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for giving us a high-level overview of the work you do and what your companies are working on. Again, this is the time for group Q&A. So if people want to come off mute to ask their questions, now would be the time. I also got a couple of questions sent to me in the chat, so I can read those off, but I'll give some time and space if anyone wants to come off mute to ask their questions first.
I'd love to ask a question if I can.
Yes, please.
So this is for Cole. Thanks for being on here. This is awesome. And thank you as well, Ryan. Just kind of a question around some of the cannabis regulations in terms of like packaging and child proofing and all of that. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe your products are still able to meet that compliance level?
Yeah, so obviously in the cannabis industry, everything has to be child resistant or CR. Can't be overly graphic and or promoted towards children. I just had a company in Maine no longer can use pictures of fruit on their labels, so they had to redo their entire label for all 6 or 7 SKUs. So it's trying to keep it out of the kids' hands, but yes, it has to be, for one, opaque, so it can't be see-through, it has to be child resistant. And then there's a lot of labeling requirements and verbiage and things like that have to go on there as well. We have 7 products that are CR certified, designed specifically for the cannabis industry. So really anything from seed to concentrate packaging, we will have a truly sustainable, compliant solution for.
Cool, thanks.
I have a question kind of stemming off of that. With some of the new Colorado bills that have been being discussed, do you do any like lobbying, or for example, there's a House bill, I think it's 1317, and it's now requires grams to be separated into at least 10, like 10, I guess, 0.1 ounce grams. I was just wondering if you were worried about the sustainability that goes along with those new regulations with just distributing it in less like it's going to take more packaging?
Oh, Cole,
Oh,
there we
did I
go.
lose you?
There you go. Maybe start over answering that question.
Yeah, so I agree. We try to lobby as much as we can. When it comes to that specific, what was it, 11, 13, 17, packaging the products 1 milligram at a time is, not conducive for a sustainability aspect, and it's not consumer friendly either. Why would you want to individually package something that's already been regulated at 10 milligrams to be individually packaged at 1 milligram? So there's now 10 packages per serving. It's really ridiculous and kind of puts us backwards where we're trying to move forward in the cannabis industry. I know 1162 as well is banning styrofoam, so there are, and adding, hopefully allowing us to restrict plastics more in the state of Colorado, which would allow us to eliminate a lot of this waste that not only the cannabis and hemp industry, but all other industries are actually affected by currently.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad that you're aware of those and understand the sustainability aspect of that.
Yeah, it's something we're definitely looking into, and it really doesn't make sense to do anything like that whatsoever. I mean, cannabis legalization has been around for quite a while here in Colorado. I think we are one of the few states that have the rules and regulations and how we do things pretty much figured out. Since we sell all over the country and in 4 different countries currently for cannabis packaging, obviously the rules and regulations are different in every state. And if you go to Nevada, for example, everything is like double packaged and it's in an exit bag, and it's what we did years and years and years ago. So they're still trying to catch up. But I think with everything here in Colorado, I don't see that bill passing, to be honest with you.
All right, I will share a question from the chat here. So it looks like this one's directed at both Cole and Ryan, but usually the biggest hesitation for companies and even on a personal level for moving to more sustainability initiatives is a cost. What's the financial implication of being responsible, and how did you weigh these?
Sure, I'll dive in a little bit. Yeah, with anything new, it can be more expensive. I mean, flat screen TVs were thousands of dollars at one point in time, and now they're a couple $100. So yes, it is more expensive, but it's not dollars more expensive. We're on average 10 to 25 cents more per package than traditional plastic. And when you're talking about the cannabis industry, that's not a whole lot of money, because the average consumer is going to spend $50 to $200 every time they walk in that store. So an extra 25 cents is no big deal. And it's also welcomed if there's a reason behind it. Hey, we've got rid of all these stupid plastic pop tops that you have probably 200 of them in your house, and we've moved over to new sustainable packaging, and it's going to be an extra 25 or 50 cents today, Mr. Customer. And they're like, fantastic, this is great. I don't like all these pop tops, so yes, let's pay that extra fee and we can move over. And sometimes the businesses will absorb that cost and use it as a marketing tool and say, hey, this is what we're doing now. And just like NYU's Stern Center for Sustainable Business found, upwards of 29% increase in sales just by marketing the fact that you have sustainable products and packaging.
Yeah, just to piggyback off Cole, I mean, our whole business is built on, promoting and reselling manufacturers that are making products sustainably, and charging, I guess, more for it. But whether you're a consumer or business, I think you can't try to be everything to everyone. If you're coming to market with the intention of helping this movement, then it's, I think, your responsibility to clearly market that and brand yourself around that, because poll after poll will say that more and more consumers, to the point now where it's the majority of consumers, are willing to pay more to feel good about their purchase and feel like they're opting in on some level. it doesn't mean that that applies to everyone and there's a certain tolerance, but being more sustainable is a huge web of decisions and opportunity. You don't have to do everything all at once. So whether it's your personal life, your business, choose things strategically, that are, affordable, you feel like you can, benefit from, and not just, I wouldn't just blindly, start being more sustainable, because there is a business side or a budget side to our lives and our businesses that we need to be responsible around. And there is no such thing as 100% sustainable or perfect. So everyone can improve on some level, but nobody has to do everything, whatever that means, perfectly. So, I think it's a great question, but I think that the market for these decisions is really opening up.
Thank you both. And Ryan, follow-up question for you. So Cole has shared, that the difference between the products, that they're using and selling versus traditional products, is pennies more as opposed to dollars more. Have you seen that type of price comparison with the stuff that you sell or EarthHero sells?
It completely depends. In some cases, I would say in most cases, you can always find like the dirtiest, cheapest, alternative out there, whether it's, toothbrush, or a phone case, but like, I don't know, we sell our toothbrushes for like $4.99. I'm sure you could find one for 99 cents, but, a phone case, we sell them for $30. I'm sure, I know there's ones for $10, but I think on the other side, and I always tell this to people, once you start purchasing this way and thinking this way, you buy less. It just, I challenge anyone to challenge me on this. It's hard to think this way and then impulsively buy things. So the thinking itself ends up over time, you end up spending less on consumables or just your personal life. On top of that, there's the traditional, like, a lot of those reusable, like take the dishwashing, for example. Is that dish block cheaper or more expensive than liquid soap? It lasts 6 months. It's probably more expensive, but you're going to save money over the long run. So that's a cliche that's been, surfaced many times. It's the old reusable water bottle versus keep buying water. But again, as you progress on this journey, those statements actually start to manifest, on your credit card statement. That's been my experience.
Ryan, I have a question for you. Do you offer bulk purchasing for businesses? So instead of going to wherever, we can purchase, from EarthHero as a business, like, in bulk purchasing.
Yeah, and the answer is yes. I briefly mentioned probably the biggest market for us is in gifting, corporate bulk gifting, swag, events, customer appreciation, things like that. If you're talking about like supplies for your business that you use, like trash bags and soaps and stuff like that, we do that as well. So, I'd love to talk to you about that if there's an opportunity.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, just email. I think my email's somewhere in the chat, but would love to talk to you if there's something there.
Great, thanks.
What would you encourage other businesses to do more of? Super
Cole,
open
you want to take a stab?
That's
that's a great question. I love the question because there's great answers there. I guess to take a stab at that, it depends on the business, of course, but meaning like where are the opportunities, right? If you're the type of business that's printing thousands and thousands of papers every day and you have to do it, like I would advise you to start thinking about the way you operate. You can, and think about the actual trash bags you're using, the soaps in the break room. Maybe when new employees join the team, if there's welcome gifts, what are you doing there? There's the pragmatic ways of just how do you show up at the office. There's also training your employees to to move towards a zero waste environment in the office by offering compost. You know, in Boulder, not sure how you guys are around the state, but you know, we have access to Charm, which is a center for hard to recycle materials. So we get to collect, you know, plastic, you know, anything that lands in our warehouse or our office. We go through, you know, Charm, recycling, composting, repurposing, you know, and the last thing is we'll throw it away. But we, you know, so I would say, you know, do a total audit of how to capture end of, you know, the back, you know, the wasteful stream on the backside. Also analyze your inputs and how you're purchasing. But there's so many other, I mean, it certainly gets more sophisticated from there, but I think those are great places to start.
Yeah, I agree. You don't really have to do everything. You can definitely start small from, you know, the paper that you use for printing could be recycled paper. The hand towels you use in the bathroom could be made out of recycled paper as well. You can use water-based inks for printing. We just got access to WindSource for 100% renewable power.
Oh, I think we lost you for a second, Cole. Gotta love technology.
Right? It's great when it works.
Yeah, okay, we got you back.
So yeah, I mean, just making those little steps is a great start. And if you want to get into full sustainability ESG plans and having somebody actually come out to your facility and see where you can improve on, you know, everything from water to lighting and everything in between. There are state agencies that do this. There's for-profit companies that do this. I mean, really, everything you could possibly think of, from your water to your lighting. And
Sorry, Cole, your audio keeps cutting in and out for us.
Danny, one other thing, just to jump in real quick, that this just reminded me of another good place to help have a guide take you through this process. If you want to be carbon neutral or climate neutral, both of those are great programs. EarthHero uses carbonfund.org, and they have a calculator that makes it really easy to offset carbon. You know, Cole mentioned he's doing that too. You know, if you're shipping a lot, UPS offers programs. Climate neutral is the newest, most level up in terms of certification. We're going through that process now. But all of these, and I think it's climateneutral.org or something like that. But these nonprofit companies will make it very easy logistically to calculate what you need to do to offset your carbon. It's sort of a Band-Aid, I think. Like, a better thing to do is not even create the carbon, but if you're in a situation where that's the only option available, like we don't have drones yet to deliver our packages. So we're sort of forced to offset that. So that'd be another suggestion.
Cole, you want to see if you can jump back in?
yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and like Brian was saying, there's several different ways of going about it. There's carbon offset credits, like he was talking about, that you can purchase, because your power source, Excel, or anybody else will tell you how much carbon you've used and what your footprint was for that month and the previous months. And you can look at offsetting that amount. And, you know, I mean, switching over to LED lighting from fluorescence is a big change. So yeah, anything you can do to start is great. And then you can just always build upon that and add more. And once it becomes commonplace to, you know, use recycled paper or compostable grocery or trash bags, that's just commonplace. That's what you purchase every single month. And then you can add on to that next month when you have the ability to do so.
All right, Cole, this question is specifically for you. How can people request use of DAMA's products or like the other sustainable products that you were mentioning in their local cannabis store? Or are there stores where people could shop to support your efforts?
Yeah, a little bit of both. We're seeing that consumers are talking to the dispensaries and saying, hey, this is what we're looking for. Do you have options like this? I mean, do you have glass or anything else? It's becoming more and more commonplace in the dispensaries, and the consumers are asking for it already. Yeah, we do sell in every legal state currently. I think the only one we're not in right now is New York. So wherever you are in the country, you can find products. Like that, we do everything from seed to concentrate, edibles, everything in between, dry flower, you name it. We have packaging solutions for. So yes, definitely talk to the dispensaries, tell them that you're looking for this. Obviously, you can recommend us. We're not the only ones in the game that do sustainable packaging for the cannabis industry. There's one other, unfortunately. I wish there were more to get more and more of these products out there. But really, there's only one other, and it's SunGrow out of California. They're the only ones that produce a CR box that is not laminated. So if you laminate a box with plastic, it is no longer recyclable. You can't do anything with it except for throw it directly in the trash. So they make an awesome product. But again, it's just a cardboard box. So there are some limitations to what that product can do as well.
Curious to get your opinion. Why do you think there are only two of you working on this issue? Is it a visibility thing, or what are your thoughts?
There's a couple different reasons. Like we've been talking about, there's a lot of misinformation and greenwashing out there, and people just trying to sell products and they don't really care. You can get a certification here in North America and have a product be certified compostable. Whether or not the compost facility will actually take it, well, that's a whole other story. But it can be marketed as a compostable product. And even though the end of life where that customer is might be a landfill, it's still a quote unquote compostable product. So there's a lot of misinformation out there as well too. And it's really just getting consumers to understand that these products even exist. Our hemp containers received their CR certification December of 2019. Our pre-roll tubes received their CR certification February of this year. So they're very, very new products, and it's just getting the information out there to the consumers and the business owners saying, hey, these are now an option. You can make the switch, and it's not going to break the bank, and your customers are already asking for it. So might as well make the switch now, help us save the planet, and you can profit from it as well too by marketing that this is what you're now doing. And you could possibly bring in a whole new clientele base you would have never had before because you didn't have a sustainable packaging solution.
I have a question for either Ryan or Cole. Curious to know your thoughts on take-back programs for plastic and glass packaging. I feel like that's happening, trickling into the movement and not really catching on yet. I'm not sure if that's because it's costly for businesses, or if the packaging did go back to the businesses, it's just too difficult to even recycle it from there or reuse them, or too costly to reuse packaging. Love to hear more about your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
I'll
kind
jump
of.
in. Oh, go ahead, Cole.
No, good.
That's you're right. It is kind of a trickle. We have a few brands, actually one in particular that probably does the best job in that on our site, called Plain Products. It's a personal care brand that packages shampoos, conditioners, lotions, even hand sanitizer in aluminum reusable bottles. And when you purchase, we send you a return label, and when you're done, you actually, the way this one works is reorder like a new version of that product, and then you can ship it back, in the box. And if it's a product with a pump, like it's a way to reuse the pump without having to, it really is a zero waste option. I think what's going on there is an expense, on the business side, because you're paying for return shipping. And then the manufacturer itself has to make sure that if they're recycling, like breaking those bottles down and recreating them, that, the cost can be absorbed versus just simply refilling them. And I think, so there's a little bit of a consumer lag in terms of that's one step less convenient than just throwing it away or putting it in a recycling can. So I'm curious, Cole, what your thoughts are, but I think there's a little bit of like training the consumer to think that way and opt into that experience. But it is becoming, there are more and more vendors that are trying this model.
Yeah, and I agree. If it's done correctly, it can work. If you go to the East Coast, bottle return programs are commonplace. That was one of the great things about living in Massachusetts is after a couple months, you take all of your cans and bottles. You can even take them directly to the liquor store sometimes, and they'll give you a credit for it, and then you can just repurchase your beer. And it's the way it is. They add a 5-cent fee per container at point of sale, and that gets returned to you when you return the products. So it can work. And when it comes to like food, I know there's a couple of different companies like Burger King that are trying to get into this type of program, ice cream companies that are trying to get into this type of program. It can be a little bit more complicated, and like Ryan's saying, the shipping costs involved and all of that as well too can be kind of a burden. And then when you get into the cannabis space, depending on the state, you might not even be allowed to do a take-back program for cannabis packaging. Here in the state of Colorado, it's actually illegal to have a bottle return program. We cannot restrict plastics or have any sort of requirements for plastics. Like if we wanted to say we require 80% recycled content in packaging here in Colorado, and we can't do that right now. It's actually illegal. So in cannabis, there are some states that will allow you to do this. You can take back your packaging. Sometimes it can be washed and sanitized. Glass is a great option. We have a company in Washington that uses nothing but glass for their products, and they get about 85% of their glass back. They wash and sanitize it and then resell it in the store. So it can work, but it really depends on the state. Good example is Hawaii. They do allow take-back programs for cannabis, but it is such a logistical nightmare to calculate and accept every single piece of packaging that comes in and making sure that all of that is in the system as well too, just as if it was going out of the store. There's not a single dispensary in the entire state that does the program because it's just too complicated. So yeah, it can work, but there's also some limitations to it. But I think moving in that direction, which we need to, instead of getting away from that linear economy, just take and waste, we can reuse products over and over again before they even go to a recycling facility.
All right, next question is for both of you. So I think we can agree that the last year has been more wasteful, I think, than years prior with disposable masks and gloves and, you know, all of that. Do you have any suggestions or examples of how your businesses kept pushing sustainability and innovation in this crazy time that we've all gone through together?
Yeah, yeah, the disposable mask thing was painful to watch. I'm not quite sure how that happened, and I apologize if there's anyone on this call that got through the pandemic using disposable masks, but I guess at EarthHero, we sold lots of organic cotton and hemp reusable masks, and same with hand sanitizer, you know, in glass, in aluminum, you know, non-plastic hand sanitizers. For cleaning, we sold reusable spray bottles and, you know, basically all the things to keep us safe. We did a full audit and made sure that we had everything you needed that created no waste. But, you know, I'm not sure if that's, you know, you were looking for a more like a specific PPE response or, you know, a more general response, but, you know, we definitely continue to deliver content around this as well. You know, I know grocery stores for a while weren't taking reusable bags. And so we were just kind of kept our finger on the pulse and tried to come up with very clever, creative ways to, you know, to get around some of the waste requirements.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely difficult to watch it happen. To this day, I see masks and gloves in parking lots and all over the place, and it's kind of sad, really. And once you get to the coastal cities, it's, you know, on the beaches, it's in the ocean. I mean, it's everywhere at this point. So during the pandemic, luckily I have a team all over the country, so we're able to go completely remote for the most part. When we were able to, people were able to work from home. That made things a lot easier. Everything we do for the most part is digital as well too. We don't print anything. We don't print any flyers or product guides or anything like that. Everything is sent to customers digitally to keep our footprint as low as possible. And then, kind of like Ryan was saying, trying to keep, when we clean and everything, trying to use products that are made out of glass or steel, or have a reusable option so that we can continue to keep our waste during that time as low as possible. We even partnered with a company to provide certified home compostable grocery bags because obviously the reusable ones weren't available. So this would be an option for customers. I know here in Denver and in Boulder and other states and countries have banned plastic bags. So we want to provide an option because it's much easier to replace a material than it is to change people's habits completely. So if we can offer them an alternative solution that is very similar to a plastic bag, but backyard compostable, that's what we're going to look for.
Ryan, specifically for you, follow-up question, are the products that you were recommending, were they still EPA certified? Because, you know, they had to be like kill X number of bacteria within this dwell time and, you know, all of those new things that kind of came out of COVID. Were you able to find products that still met those specific standards?
Yeah, it's a great question. We actually, for that reason, sort of steered, you know, there was plenty of companies out there that were offering the, you know, the bad stuff that killed it, right? And the reality was there was so little research done in terms of if it was outside of bleach or alcohol. And then on top of that, you know, I want to make sure that we weren't promoting a solution that created, you know, paper towels and like needs to create other kinds of waste. So we really, to be, you know, just to be totally transparent, we never really sourced a, you know, an actual cleaner that we felt comfortable putting a sustainability tag on it. Although I'm sure it's out there at this point. But, you know, I actually thought along this topic that the story around it not being you know, surfaces not being that relevant was going to come out much sooner, because I'm not sure what happened there, but we were, you know, ultimately we couldn't figure it out. And then we thought that sort of opportunity had, you know, passed, and let's just, you know, stick to our non-COVID cleaning track and leave, you know, the science-based COVID killers to, unfortunately, the companies that were at the time deemed, you know, acceptable. So that was another sad situation. I mean, just the chemicals being blasted everywhere. It was crazy, sadly.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for your time today. I'm going to wrap everything up. Today is World Oceans Day, so I think this topic was so nice and so convenient to discuss. You know, even though we are a landlocked state, we do have an impact on the plastic production and usage, as well as, you know, our impact on the ocean. So I think this topic was so great. And again, thank you to Cole and Ryan for your knowledge, your experiences, your transparency around this topic. And then for all of you who were able to join us today, I hope you found this time as informative as I did. We have a couple of survey questions that we would love for you to answer on your way out of our virtual event here. You can also join us for our next event on July 13th to learn more about how Best for Colorado companies Ships Sunshine and Yellow Dog Denver are giving back. I also wanted to do one final plug for our Commit to Action campaign. Again, the Commit to Action campaign is a free resource of suggested actions to help you implement socially and environmentally responsible business practices. You can join the campaign by committing to one or all 4 of the commitments. And thank you all again so much for joining us. Thank you again, Cole and Ryan, for your time. It was so valuable and it just helps put everything into perspective. So thank you all so much for joining us. We will see you at the next event.